High-intensity workouts are making you fat. Everybody's wrong about this, but I'm going to tell you the truth, and this is backed up by clinical research. High-intensity exercise spikes your stress hormones like cortisol and prolactin.
The first thing to understand is that the acute response to high-intensity exercise is an increase in cortisol and testosterone. Then they subsequently drop back below baseline and finally return back to baseline values after 24 hours. And the 24-hour cortisol concentration is typically the same, if not lower, after high-intensity exercise. The second thing to remember is cortisol does not make you fat. The context in which cortisol is released is what modulates its fattening or non-fattening effects. Here's the reason why. Cortisol increases the uptake and turnover of fatty acids. It increases whole body lipolysis, which is the breakdown and release of fatty acids into blood circulation. It also drastically increases the activity of a specific enzyme called lipoprotein lipase. This enzyme takes fatty acids from the bloodstream and either stores them or utilizes those fatty acids as fuel. This enzyme is highly concentrated both on muscle and fat tissue. So in this context of exercise, cortisol actually increases the release of fatty acids and increases their uptake. Importantly, inactivity suppresses the activity of lipoprotein lipase on skeletal muscle, meaning that if cortisol is elevated during a period of inactivity, the skeletal muscle will not uptake the fatty acids out of the bloodstream. But adipose tissue, specifically the adipose tissue around the abdomen, is very sensitive to uptaking fatty acids out of the bloodstream. And in a scenario in which we are inactive, the fatty acids that are released in response to elevated cortisol will be uptaken by the adipose tissue and stored as abdominal fat. But very importantly, physical activity increases the expression of lipoprotein lipase on skeletal muscle, meaning that during exercise, these skeletal muscles will uptake the liberated fatty acids out of the bloodstream, which is why in sum total, high-intensity exercise reduces abdominal and visceral fat mass. The main role of cortisol is to increase the release of fatty acids from storage and increase the uptake of fatty acids as well. In the context of physical activity, these fatty acids are released from fat tissue and uptaken by skeletal muscles. If cortisol is elevated in the context of physical inactivity, such as psychological stress or some underlying infection, this may increase abdominal fat mass because the skeletal muscles are not uptaking the fatty acids out of the bloodstream. But that is different than what occurs during exercise, and in sum total, all of the available evidence indicates that high-intensity exercise decreases both abdominal and visceral fat mass. With that being said, if you would like an individualized approach to your nutrition and lifestyle to optimize your health, energy, and body composition, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.